Kia ora, welcome. My name is Michael Boyle. I'm from the Queensland University of Technology. I'll be chairing this session. We've got another interesting presentation here following on from our last one about engagement, and this one is about augmented reality connecting the classroom and the community, so extending it beyond the educational context. So we've got two speakers associated with this talk. We've got David Sinfield and Tom Cochran. I had to look twice because Tom Cochran used to be my DVC at QUT, and different Tom Cochran. So David is a senior lecturer and program director at the Auckland University of Technology. In 2012, he created a new undergraduate program that captured the aspects of graphic design, moving image, and new technologies such as mobile devices, AR and VR integrated with undergraduate program. In 2015, he was awarded the Vice Chancellor's Teaching Excellence Award at AUT. Tom is an academic advisor and senior lecturer at AUT, and he's associated with the Centre for Learning and Teaching. In 2011, he was awarded an Ascolight Fellow for his work. His research interests include mobile learning, Web 2.0, and communities of practice. So, without further ado, we'll hand over to David and Tom to take us through the presentation. Don't forget that you can ask questions via the app, or of course you're welcome to ask questions in person as well. Welcome, David.
Thank you. I think what's really interesting in the pedagogy as we work, apart from the creative program that we run, we work really closely with the Centre for Learning and Teaching here at AUT, and we're really grateful for that because it gives us the ability to tap into their resources and their know-how. Primarily, I'm a graphic designer and teach graphic design. And my take on this is that we really should be engaging more with technologies. But how do we do that? So how do teachers that teach programs like we teach have an understanding of what technology is and where technology is going, and indeed how can it be reinforced with our educational system. Now, before we start, we're going to do just a quick survey. Tom will be taking this online. So if you could just hashtag the 360 Southside, and there'll be two questions, and we'll come to the answers at the end of the presentation. So it will just say, have you used mobile AR in education, and have you used mobile VR in education? Just two very quick, simple questions. So basically our talk today is about the discussions and stages that we do with our students in an undergraduate program, and it is in Manukau, which is in South Auckland. I'll show you a quick location that we can go to Auckland, New Zealand. So this is where we are. Literally the other side of the world. Okay, so that's Manukau, and in location to Auckland, you can see where we are. This is where Manukau is, and it's about 20 k's down the one. Before we started this project, we had to get ethics approval, so we were able to share with you a survey that we ran with the students, and indeed share with you some of their work as well. So we started the semester, before we actually started the education of this group, with a quick SurveyMonkey survey. We asked 10 questions. Just going to quickly go through some of the questions that came up. Do you consider yourself a digital native? So, interestingly enough, they know what the word digital native is, so we didn't get any yes. what is your age? So as an undergraduate program, mainly we take on school leavers, but there are a percentage, it's about 15% of 20 to 34. So starting to get slightly more mature students at Manukau as well. And this is really interesting. On a design-led program, normally the female is about 80%. Certainly that's what it is in the city of Auckland. But out at Manukau, it's almost a 50-50 ratio. So what mobile devices do you own? So we just wanted to get an understanding of what mobile devices they had. Obviously you can see from this that the iPhone was quite high, and laptops was also quite high. So I think it's also interesting to understand what we're actually teaching. As creatives, as designers, you know, a laptop is a very important part of their device. It runs all of their software and it's their whole life. So that's quite a large percentage. A few years ago that would have been quite low, but we're seeing the increase in that as we go on. No Blackberries anymore, that's now gone. Windows Surface tablets, very low. iPads, also quite low. Students will invest more in a laptop than they will as an iPad, because it obviously can run their software. What types of social media accounts do you use? Well, the first one is very, very obvious, isn't it? Facebook, and that's on 100%. I'll be very surprised if it's anything less than that. Twitter, surprisingly, I think that was quite high. It's 50%. Now, bearing in mind these are students in you know, just barely at school leaving age, so they don't tweet much. But we noticed how we're running the program and we're encouraging them to use Twitter. They then start to use it more. YouTube view only was quite high. Instagram. Now that is an interesting one, Instagram. Again, because we're visual creatives, the trend these days is to push as much imagery as they can out there, and Instagram is a good platform for that. Again, you may find this one surprisingly, but WordPress is quite high. And the reason why we do that, because we get the students to reflect on their work, both in the written word and indeed in their visual content as well. And we find this a really good platform for them to do so. And it gives us an area that we can monitor and give feedback as well, rather than traditional handwritten journals. What types of mobile apps do you use? Again, email. If you ask a student in the age of between, say, 18 to 23, do you use emails? They probably will say no. But because it's an educational platform and we have to, communicate them via email, we're almost forcing them to use email, if you like. But if it was their choice, they wouldn't use it. Text, of course, is very high. YouTube is very high as well. So they're the standard ones. Have you used any of the following mobile apps for formal education? So this is where it starts to get interesting. So this is where we're almost kind of directing the students into the areas of using certain apps. And we just go down the list. We've got things like augmented reality. And if we hadn't have introduced this into the program, it would have been pretty much zero. Blackboard, again, is very high there because it's an institutional way of communicating. So that's how we do it at AUT. And we asked the question, have you had any experience with mobile augmented reality? Again, this is something that we're working on, and it's interesting that from some of the groups we've worked on, we're using this, that we get these results. So we're looking at Pokemon Go. Obviously, we don't use that in education, but it's what this, and that's quite high. The post-survey of this, I'm expecting that to be a lot lower because it's a fad, okay, that comes along, everyone jumps on it, they use it, they experience it for a short period of time. But it's just interesting to note. Orasma, the second one down, and between, and sorry, underneath Pokemon Go, we've got Layer as well, which is slightly low at this stage. At the end of the semester, I'm expecting that to be a lot higher because we're getting the students to, treat their project basis using these apps. So I think it's really interesting to kind of get an impression of pre and post. Obviously, I can't show you the post yet, we haven't got there. Have you had any experience with mobile virtual reality? Google Cardboard is quite high, and Google Street View. Now, again, Google Street View was part of the project that we encouraged the students to use. So at least they are paying attention. So question, why did we introduce AR and VR into our teaching, and what is our program about? So I run the Visual Communications program, and basically it's a combination of traditional graphic design, if you like, and a more contemporary style where we're getting to look at moving image and indeed new technology as well. So it's looking from the creators' perspectives, graphic designers if you like, how can they use new technology? So it's not a question of let's just use technology for the sake of using technology, but how can you get the most out of it? How can it be integrated within creativity? And that's the crux of what we're really all about. So, question, what is design? And what makes me think we know what design is? I'm just going to quickly explain what design is, graphic design is. So, if you go to a dictionary, it will tell you it's a profession within graphic design, arts, industry who assembles together images, typography or motion graphics to create a piece of design. Graphic designer creates the graphics primarily published, printed or electronic media, such as brochures and advertising. Very generic. The art and the skill of combining text and pictures in advertising, magazines and books. Okay, so that's kind of like if you say, what's a graphic designer, they'll say, okay, well, that's a graphic designer. But how do we really know what a graphic designer is, or what should a graphic designer is, and where is graphic design going, specifically with technology? Also, an interesting one is industry. In short, we need to make our students more versatile and valuable, and what I mean by that is when they leave us, they should be telling industry what the next angle is. They shouldn't be just going into a studio and then the art director saying, okay, we're going to do a campaign and we're going to produce a brochure and we're going to do some posters. So we want our students to go and go, well, hold on, yeah, we can do that, but what about if we did, say, augmented reality? So it's very much our students leaving and pushing industry to where it should be going. We're also looking at social awareness and problem solving, and what we mean by that is, certainly in the Manukau, is that how can our students give back to society? You know, we always do like ad campaigns for, you know, a corporate company, etc., but where does it sit within community? And where does design sit within community? And again, this is some of the things that we're discovering and trying to push a lot further. So how can our program contribute to the local community? So with that, we set this brief, and I'm going to show you one or two examples of that in a minute. So by using the Manukau region for inspiration, the students will choose a location within Manukau which will possibly have a significant meaning to them. So they will explore the spaces, places, and they will travel through the streets and alleyways, and they'll be looking for detailed colours, textures, people, ideas and meaning. So we're getting them to look a little bit closer within their where they live. What does it mean to actually live and study in Manukau? Part of this project, we got them to map all their ideas and put down within Google Maps and Google Street View. I'm going to show you an example here. So these are some of our students, and all down the left-hand side there, that worked on this project, and you can see their icons based, so where they was within the area of Manukau. So we look at Gabby's work, and they did a blog, they did Vine, they did video, they did panoramics, and they did a workbook, and they actually included their workbook as a movie.
My project will explore how a place can represent human emotions and display meaning through its design and physical properties. I have chosen Ronwood Avenue Car Park because the building is adorned with strong angular wedges that barricade the outside and have 2 parallel towers. It also displays a peculiar phrase on the towers, which is odd because it does not fit the character profile of the building. The text shown on the towers are written in neon cursive and display a mori he whakatoki that means love in, love out. This phrase is special because it opens up speculation. Love in, love out are opposites that conflict each other and remain harmonious, just like black and white or yin and yang. This is important because it displays a juxtaposition, which naturally becomes the motif throughout the design of the building. The building is concrete and cold, whilst the text is bright and romantic due to its meaning and design. The feeling of isolation against warm invitation. Using the whakatoki and the theme of juxtaposition has led me to the concept of unhappy relationships, which will be the driver of my concept. I will explore the idea of showing unhappy relationships because relationships are a concept of togetherness, and for it to be unhappy opposes the idea. The 2 towers are distant and face away from each other and display messages of togetherness, a juxtaposition. My idea is to personify them into human entities and address the story these 2 people can have. I will be exploring the emotional tension of toxic relationships and the emotional states of loneliness. Loneliness in a relationship will be the focal point of my project.
This next student, Miranda, she stumbled across this area. It looks like a used car parking bay, and she saw evidence of people that had lived there. So she did this series of posters and augmented them, so when you would run your mobile device, mobile phone or iPad, up to it, it would then tell a further story. So it's looking at how can our creatives push the boundaries of ink on paper, and how can we actually make visual materials such as this much deeper. So we're looking at design, we're looking at technologies, and we're looking at social awareness. So, where to next? Got a couple of links here, and this is something that so this here is our tweet, so we get the students to actually broadcast their ideas up there, so we get this community of tweeting as well. We're also keen on 360-degree moving image, so I'll just scroll through this. So we got our students to go out on campus and use some 360 cameras, so they would have an idea of how it's like to be immersed within moving image. Okay. This is our new campus thing. Interestingly, on that one, because we get them to broadcast them on YouTube, they was dancing to some music, but obviously when it was loaded up to YouTube, YouTube recognised there was copyright issues, and that's why that video was silent. So that's just an interesting point to take into consideration.
It's 360. All around. Oh, it's 360. Get in there. I've got a crash. I've got a crash.
I do 30-50.
Hey?
30-50.
So Ollie's over here, eh?
Get off my way.
I
don't know if any of you have experienced 360 or use 360, and when you publish things, make sure you publish on areas like Firefox and places not like Safari, because Safari at the moment doesn't embed the 360, make it kind of like an odd kind of rendition, so you won't be able to scroll through like that. So that's just a point like that, so that you're experiencing that stuff. Now I'm going to hand you over to Thomas, who's going to see what hopefully the results are from the audience survey.
Okay, so a couple of votes just came in just as I plugged it in, because people obviously remembered to do their voting. So this is the results of the poll so far. We've got 14 votes so far, with over half of people have not used AR and VR, or at least mobile, in education so far. So kind of interesting. Obviously it's pretty new, but as far as mobile devices go, it's a very authentic use of mobile device, because you can use that to augment your current surroundings using Google Cardboard, which costs you $5. You can experience that in virtual reality. And so we're getting these students, these graphics design students, to explore the impact of that on their practice, how it can take their physical displays of artwork and augment that and be able to share that globally using Google Map, etc., and just add to the whole experience.
It's a good point Tom just made. It's certainly if you go on Google Street View and Google Maps, you can see, you know, if you're from the other side of the world, then you get more of an understanding of what an area is and how the students have engaged in it. So here's a QR code for the presentation today. Please take a snap of that and you can see, go over the presentation at your leisure and share. It's all about sharing. Thank you so much.
AR audience.
Yes, great.
Questions for David? Or Tom? Or Tom? Yeah.
That's good. We expose them to some areas. Say, for instance, if we're going to be doing, say, augmented reality, say if they're taking some of their designs and want to put further information behind it, we can say things like, okay, there'll be apps like, say, Orasma or Layer that you could use, but we don't force them to use that. It's very much say, this is what's available. If you can do it your way, please do. So it's all about that creative understanding and finding about their voice, and indeed finding their voice as well. That's as much as important as well. We find that just by leading the students there, then they find other areas and they start, and the momentum gets a lot quicker. Yeah.
We try to focus on BYOD models. So we look at apps that are cross-platform, that work on Windows, iOS, and Android.
And
It's a little
it's
bit harder for Windows these days.
yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, and indeed free apps as well. So we don't want students to spend a lot of money. We do want them to spend any money at all if possible.
So this is just a demo I took while David was starting, and he moved, so he's got two heads because it's a static panorama. But just to give you an idea, we use cardboard camera as a very quick idea of it's 360, not really it's VR as such, but it's a first experience for students. They can download the app and create something very quickly and then share it. And just as a demo, I did this at the start of the session, and you see we can go into cardboard mode, switch the screen, and this app then gives you the experience of being there. Also records audio, but I've just got my audio turned off at the moment. And so you get an audio loop, but you get to experience the scenario very, very quickly. And it's a quick activity you can do for students just to introduce the concepts. Questions?
That's really good. Yeah, of course, what you don't do, you don't put a 360 camera, say, here, because, what's the point in filming a blank wall? So, you've got to say to the students, okay, if you're going to video in something in a 360, make sure that you have a 360-degree area, so that makes it interesting when people will scroll round and see what's behind. What's really interesting about the skate, because it was a circular skate bowl, is that you're forever kind of scrolling around and what's going on, trying to keep up. But again, that's fun. It's different. It's different room rather than if it was in a room where people are static and you wanted to see. So it's just a different platform or a different way of viewing.
Yeah, so one of the tools that we're using in getting students to use is SeekBeak, which is kind of a web-based platform for them to put their content on and deliver it and augment it with hotspots. And this is just an example of one. You can see myself and David there. And this wasn't a true panoramic image. It wasn't quite in the right dimension, so it squeezed it up a bit. But it kind of gives you the idea. But with SeekBeak, you can set the point of view. So you can say, as people load their SeekBeak, their direction is pointed towards this part of the panorama, and then they can explore beyond that. But I guess part of the key with VR and 360 is allowing the student to explore, allowing the user to explore. So it gives you that freedom of being able to look where you want to and focus on part of that object or image and discover. So it's not necessarily a preset linear direction.
All the students are from Manukau, so they know the area. It's I don't know if you know Manukau. Do you know Manukau at all? The area? Yeah, cool. Yeah. So it's a relatively poor area, unlike CBD. So that the students we have there tend to come from more of a low-income family, but more engaged with community. It's much more. The students we take on our program I would say, are local, whereas if you look at Auckland, AUT in the city, they're coming from all over the country. Okay, so just in that self, in the group, in the class, they will know each other or they will know the street where they're from. So it's the community in the classroom as much as what we're trying to get them to express where they're from as well within the greater community of Manukau. So we're looking at building Manukau. We're looking at saying, hey, this is a wonderful area, and why don't you explore it? Why don't you publish these things and put your expressions as a graphic designer and a creative online, so the whole world, if you like, through something like Google Street View, Google Maps, can actually find out and get an understanding of what it's like, what Manukau is like.
So what we're trying to do with their artwork is link it to the context, to the geographic context. So the graphic artists, normally it's a physical object that sits on a wall somewhere devoid of the context. So being able to link that to the actual context and for them to explain those links in their blog, etc. So using these tools allows you to add geographic context to a physical design object.
Thank you, David and Tom, for a very fascinating talk, and I show appreciation for David and Tom again. Thank you.